start by, thank you. It's June, it's graduation season. We've already had one graduation, which I'm sure we'll be hearing about a little bit later on in this meeting. And Wednesday, there will be the kindergarten graduation taking place at 10 a.m. So I encourage all board members and people in the community to actually come and attend that graduation ceremony. Should be fun. Looking forward to it. Also, with the month of June we want to recognize it's Pride Month. We are an inclusive community at the school, so we want to make sure that we recognize June as Pride Month. If anyone has any comments they would like to share on that, now's the time, or I guess at the end when we open it up. We'll open it up later on at the end of the meeting for those extra comments. That stated, we will go to the agenda, and I just did the public comment. We won't do the minutes till we get a quorum. So that'll lead us right to Mr. Gordon on the FY22 financial report. Floor is yours, Charlie.
Thanks, Rob, and good evening, everyone. I had the pleasure of attending the graduation today. What a pleasure. Great to see happy kids and happy parents. So just wanted to share that happy energy. So looking at the financial statements, the most recent available information is from April of 2022. Last time I looked at February, so we brought it forward. Our revenues are $518,000 ahead of budget, but they're $1.6 million behind last year to date. The 2022 budget was 280 enrolled. Our current count is 218 as of this morning. Personnel costs are $88,000 below budget and $394,000 below last year to date. Total operating expenses are $196,000 above budget and $91,000 below prior year to date. Most of this is related to transportation costs. Fundraising and grant are running $265,000 ahead of budget and $1.2 million ahead of prior year to date. Our change in total net assets is running $586,000 above budget and showing $342,000 behind last year. Corrective actions were taken back in November to address the shortfall in enrollment. These have had the desired results. We're running over $500,000 ahead of budget. We continue to monitor results accordingly. Moving on to the balance sheet. Cash of the balance sheet date was $54,000 higher than it was a year ago. Cash balance of this morning was $3,319,375. Total current assets are $729,000 higher than they were a year ago, and this is mostly related to grant funds that are still to be received, so grants fund receivable. Our total assets are $421,000 higher than they were a year ago. Our intercompany payables are $480,000 lower than a year ago. And our total net assets has increased $1.4 million over a year ago at this time. Now I will move into the ratio analysis. So our change in net asset margin has declined greatly over a year ago. This is due to additional year-to-date operating losses, $1.6 million this year-to-date versus $62,000 loss last year-to-date. We've fallen below the negative 5% trigger and are watching the right-sized operating expenses changes since November to compensate for this and bring us back in line before fiscal year end. However, if we add grant revenues, we're a positive 3.17, and we'll advocate for this reading the figures in our communications with the DC board. The logic is that these grants were received to fund operations during the pandemic, and that is what it has been used for. This 3.17 is an improvement over the 2.62 reported for the end of February, our last report. Aggregated net margin declined over prior reporting period, now at negative 7.89 and above the trigger. However, it's a reduction from the 10.7 negative reported in February. Remember, this is a 3-year moving average, and the steps taken in November should correct this by fiscal year end. Using the same grant revenue logic above, the figure is negative 0.76, down from negative 3.32 at February. So again, a good trend. We're going in the right direction. Days of cash on hand, 167 days versus 163 last year at April 30th. Our cash flow from operations is negative 17%, down from negative 21% at February 28th. Again, anything below zero is not good, but we're moving in the right direction. Our current ratio improved from 3.59 prior year to date to 5.88 this year. This is due to an increase in current assets and is a positive trend. Our debt ratio improved from 0.6 to 0.67 and is a positive trend. Between 0.5 and 0.9 is good, so we're all good here. Our primary reserve ratio increased from 0.24 to 0.4, well above the needed 0.25, and again, moving in the right direction. Our program service expense ratio increased to 96% from 91% as of our last report, and is unchanged year to year. Our defensive ratio increased from 5.25 to 6.11 months on hand. This is a good trend. Our liquidity ratio increased from 0.72 to 0.99. Again, we're moving in the right direction. So that's the end of the comments on the financial report that was delivered last Friday. Along with that, and last time we were together, we talked about how we had changed some of our processes and procedures in the finance department to support the organization and to avoid some of the trouble we ran into with last year to date, or last year's audit. You have received a copy of the document that outlines those steps. And if you've had a chance to read them, I'm happy to answer questions about why we've taken those actions and how effective they've been. Okay, seeing that I've put you all to sleep, I'll hand it back to Rob.
Thanks, thanks, Charlie. So the next item on our agenda will be the principal's report from Mr. Daniels.
Yeah, Brian is at a family graduation this evening, so he is not available to join us. I don't see.
I'll be doing it. Mr. Medley is in commute, so Dr. Jackson and I are prepared to move forward.
Oh, so we're in for a treat.
Please proceed.
All right, I'm going to share my screen. Hold on. There we go. I wanted to make sure it's going to pop up first. And Mr. Medley should be joining us shortly. He said that his ETA was 6:20. We had a student whose parent didn't come to pick him up until after 5. And so he had to stay with that student. And, you know, he commutes about an hour home. So he's in the midst of that commute. Can you guys see this?
Yes.
All right, here we go. I'm going to go ahead and get started with the elementary report. If he joins us, he can chime in, but I'm going to go ahead and get started for the sake of time. So
Do you want to start with your report, Danny?
Sure, I can go on down. Middle school report. All right. So guys, I have great news. We are at end of the year, and I know we had previously discussed our internal and external goals. So our external goal was to have 50% of our children meet their typical growth in both ELA and math. But we set an internal goal and leveled that up to 60% just so we can get children closer to grade level, as well as set an internal goal of having 15% of those children reach their stretch goal. And so here's our data as of today. So our external goal for the charter board has been met. All of the children in 50 or more percent of children in grades 6 through 8 have reach their typical goal in already. And then you'll be able to see in 6th grade ELA. And so that asterisk there is because we do have some 6th grade self-contained classes on Frank's watch that are still taking already just because they wanted to maximize that instructional time. So that 56% may grow to 60, which is our internal goal. But 56% of our 6th graders reached their ELA typical growth, and 28% of that met their stretch growth, which typically puts them a year closer to grade level. That was 55% in math, with 16% reaching their stretch goal. And just so you all know, this is Gen Ed and SPED combined. At the bottom of this, I know that you all send out the slideshow. If you click this link right here, there's a folder that opens up with the actual reports by grade level, if you choose to look at them. 7th grade 73% of our 7th graders met their typical goal for ELA, and 29% of those met their stretch goal. We have about 27 children, and out of those 27 children, 14 of them are within 1 year of grade level going into the 8th grade, which is a really, really big accomplishment for us. Math, 60% of those children met their stretch goal, 28% of met their typical goal, 28% met their stretch goal. And then 8th grade, which is what I'm really excited about because we have no more time with them. We sent them on today. 79% of them met their goal in reading. 33 of that met their stretch goal. We had about 40% of the class leave on grade level in reading, which was a really, really big deal. And then in math, 60% of them met their goal, with 25% reaching their stretch goal. So the only goal right now we haven't met is our internal goal of having 60% of students meet their typical growth goal. And we're about 5 percentage points away in the 6th grade. And my hypothesis is that when we finish testing, all of this will be at 60%, which puts us closer to our internal goal of getting children at grade level by the time they leave us. Are there any questions just about our end of the year iReady data and growth?
I just have one. What do you think led to the great results that we got?
A shift in our instructional model, doing away with having teachers use the curriculum, page by page, and really using a data-based approach to instruction, having them track their data and not just rely on iReady, but track standards mastery over time and go back to a standards-based instructional model where they took the standard and unpacked the standard to isolate the skill. And then we were able to teach the skills in tandem based off what children need and then maximize intervention in the classroom because everything was about targeted skill. So I think that's where we got the most bang for our buck, as well as it was the development opportunities for teachers to learn the skills that were encompassed in the standards, which allowed them to be able to teach the standard better and more in depth. So I think, like I said, my hypothesis is that 6th grade will meet this goal. I'm very, very proud of the 7th and 8th grade ELA goal, as well as the amount of children that met their stretch goal, as well as the 14 8th graders that left today on grade level. But I think what can be accounted to us making this type of academic success is the shift in instruction and the shift in instructional planning for teachers.
Can you explain again what the stretch goal is?
Sure. So I already gives you 2 goals. When you take your BOI, which is your beginning of the year diagnostic, it gives you a goal. This is the typical growth for a child that's achieving at your rate for the year. The stretch goal is the goal that gets you closer to grade level. So for us, because majority of our children perform 2 or more years below, the goal is to always have as many of them, especially in the middle school, meet the stretch goal as possible so that they get closest to grade level. So the stretch goal is basically like, oh, you've made your goal, so now let's stretch your knowledge. Let's stretch your learning to see if you can meet this goal and meet the next goal. And for our children, it puts them so much closer to grade level.
Thank you.
No worries. And like I said, when you all get this report, this folder at the bottom, when you click it, it opens up the reports by grade level and you can see the disaggregation by class and by teacher, if you please. Any other questions about middle school academic growth? And what I will say for the summer, we are not doing the traditional summer school, but we do have about 1,400 hours of online tutoring support that we still need to use. And so Brian and I are hopping on the Zoom this week to see if there's a way we can maximize that in the summer to target those children that did not meet their typical growth goal in the 6th and 7th grade over the summer so that they're prepared for next year. Any other questions about academic growth or performance before I go to the next slide? Okay, here we go. All right, so middle school culture, as Kathy said, we just, hold on, it's gonna play. I'm sorry. Okay, We just closed out the year. I didn't want us to play it. We just closed out our 8th grade year today. We had our sneaker ball Friday. We had our promotion ceremony today, which Charlie and Kathy were at. And for the 6th and 7th grade, we ended the year with a spirit week. We really wanted to, like I said, maximize that instructional time and give teachers every day to get that eye-ready growth so that we're setting them up for success. But we were able to hire a videographer to capture a 5-minute digital yearbook for our 8th graders. And so I'm going to play it for you all. I'm going to mute myself, but tell me if you can't hear it.
I just said saying I can't hear it.
Here either.
I would just say that the teachers are extremely invested in the students' future, and even though they might seem mean, they are trying to help you out and prepare you for the next grade.
If you have anything that you want to do, you can do it. Just make sure you want to write pad.
Still don't have the volume, Danny.
It's there, but it's like really, really low.
Hold on. I maybe need to adjust the volume on the YouTube clip. Give me 1 second.
I wish my students knew how incredible.
Hold on. Let me adjust the volume on YouTube. Okay. So the volume seems to be all the way up on the YouTube clip, and my volume is also all the way up, but let me go back and share sound and see if it makes a difference.
Thank you, Danny.
And then if not, what I will do is I will post the link in the chat, and you all, it is an open link for everyone who we've given permission to, and you all can watch it, but we're gonna give it one more shot before we do that. Volume's up. I'm gonna resume my share. I'm gonna share the sound, and we're gonna try it again. And if it still isn't loud enough, like I said, I'll put the YouTube link in the chat for the sake of time, as well as I know when you get this board report, when you click it, it'll just play for you. All right, let's try it again and let me know what it sounds like, please.
When you do have issues, you know how to get back home right here.
Is it still low?
46, 24 place, and we'll have your back.
This school
That's better.
really has some great students in here.
I was crying because I didn't want to leave.
I would just say that the teachers are extremely invested in
You might just have to
the
share Ms. Johnson, because it's still kind of low.
even though they might seem
Okay, so I would just, and it could be just the volume on the video. So I will post it in the chat, but it's a really, really good 5-minute documentary. It has student interviews, parent interviews, teacher interviews, some great videos from our sneaker bowl and some of the other videos and things we were able to capture throughout the year. So this is what they received today as a digital yearbook, and it's a great summation of what the cultural activities have looked like for the middle school. And that ends my portion. I see Mr. Medley was able to join us. So I'm gonna go back up to the elementary report and let him go ahead and get started.
Thank you, Danny.
No worries, thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Pardon my tardiness. I had some students left over at school. We have to make sure that they get home safely when parents don't pick them up on time. So I'm going to give the elementary report. Next slide, please, Ms. Johnson or Dr. Jackson. I don't know who has control. Our students were engaged in a lot of assessments for elementary school, just because it sets the tone and it's a lot of foundational work. And so this year, our students in 3rd and 4th grades took the PARCC ELA and math tests. For our 3rd graders, this was their first PARCC test ever, their first ever standardized test where it measured the Common Core state standards. And so we're really excited to see what the data reveals when we receive the embargo data, hopefully within about 6 weeks. Our elementary students had already met their target that we established for the charter board in January, February, but we, like the middle school, created an in-house goal, and we are still testing. So we will have that information by the end of the week. Dibbles is a test that we administer to every K2 student. And Dibbles is an indicator to let us know, data about the 5 buckets of reading. So it tells us, how students are doing with phonemic awareness, phonics, vocabulary, comprehension, and fluency, because we know that kids need to have extra work with those areas in order for them to develop into fluent readers. We are finishing that test as well, because that window closes on Thursday. We also wanted to track sight words for students in grades K-2. That data will also be made available later this week. In the realm of science, students were exposed to the Manduca sexta, which is also known as the tobacco hornworm, for the science block for 4th quarter. And so we have pictures capturing what that looked like. Next slide, please. So we had a presentation in the library. Actually sees how this worm attaches itself, and we had a presentation that was phenomenal, that engaged students on how the caterpillar goes through the stages to become an adult butterfly. It was very interactive. Students were given an opportunity to hold the worms and to play with them. Next slide, please. Has some other students. We had this in the media center. Kids were highly engaged and just love the science behind this. So on the right, you can see there's a student who actually has one of the worms on her person. We thought students were not going to be brave, but our students were like, yeah, I want to touch it, And with us serving a high population of SPED students, we know that tactile is a great approach for them. And this is something that students in our building don't necessarily have access to living in the city, but we were very grateful that we formed this partnership through Miss Green Clark, who has a cousin who works in DC, who was able to bring this lab to us. So we were very excited about that. Next slide. So we had last week students engaged in 3 different activities, and one was related to culture for PBIS, the other was related to growth data, and then we had one field trip open up to everybody. So we took our kids to Anacostia Park and we took them roller skating. This is on the left is our kindergarten teacher, Miss Davis. We had the cafeteria make bag lunches for the students. We went out, rented roller skates from the Anacostia Park, and we had different activities for students to do. So you can see just by the pictures here, we captured really clearly the excitement that our students experienced during this time. Next slide. The second field trip that we took was to the National Zoo. Our kids engaged in face painting. They visited different animals and they had to write a journal entry discussing their day at the zoo, talking about their favorite animals. So that connected to the narrative writing focus that we had for 4th quarter. Next slide. Some more pictures from the zoo here, and this was for students in grades K through 4, and this was gen ed and SPED students. So the picture on the right is our K4 autism class. They really had an amazing time as well. Next slide. Our final trip was to the National Mall. Some kids really didn't know about the amazing museums and monuments that we have in our back door. So we had a picnic there where we had a picnic on the grass, but we visited many museums that day, and students also had to write a reflective piece on what their favorite part was from the trip. Next slide. So I'm very honored to share with the board that I applied for a summer acceleration grant and was awarded the funds for that. So it was a very competitive grant that OSCE opened up to all of DC. I think the grant was due in April, and they sent us the award letter in May. So we're going to start on June 21st. I think they want us to start on the 20th, but I think that's going to be the day that we celebrate Juneteenth. And I sent an email to get clarification with that. But it has to be 20 days long. We will run from 8:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m., not 12:30 a.m. And we will have 90 minutes of ELA, 90 minutes of math. Then kids will have lunch and recess, and then there will be an extension period built in based upon what the students' needs are. OSSE is requiring us that we share end of year data, EOI data, and then the kids will test again the last week of July to see if their program accelerated learning. So that's the purpose. For reading, we're gonna go through again the 5 buckets of reading: phonemic awareness, phonics, fluency, vocabulary, comprehension. And with math, we were awarded a grant to use the Zern curriculum. That was another grant that we applied for. And I opened up the summer acceleration up to 24 students just for us to kind of pilot things this year. We have 19 of 24 families who were invited enrolled so far. So this week I will be making a concerted effort to get the other 6 students that we need in order for this program to work. And I think that is the end of my report. Does anyone have any questions about the elementary side of things?
First of all, Ms. Medley, I would say congratulations on getting the grant. That's great news for the school. It's exciting to know, and we'll sure pull in those other 6 students. High confidence on that. You mentioned early in your report that one of the goals we met, I guess, fairly early in the process. There is. Do you think that was the result of maybe a little bit of underestimating of what the students could get done, or like what do you think led it?
Great question. I think, and Ms. Johnson, you can chime in as well. I think when we met as a leadership team, we just didn't know. We didn't want to be too ambitious, but we wanted to also be realistic because kids really weren't in school for the past 2 years. And so I think for my floor, we have an interventionist this year, Ms. Pinckney, who has done a great job with pulling small groups and targeting small groups. And we worked with a need-based instruction at the elementary level. So we were able to pull kids every day, and Ms. Pinckney met with them about 25 minutes, and she worked with those students on specific needs that the iReady data projected. So if there were a group of kids that were red, for example, in comprehension, she engaged them in high quality guided reading groups. For students who were red and red means that they are at least 2 years behind in phonics, then those students met with her twice a week and got a double dose of phonics instruction. So I think that with the implementation of the reading interventionist, and we were really strategic about pulling the groups and accessing and reading the data carefully, I think that we really attacked it really well. And so moving forward, we will definitely increase that. And I'm sure AP Johnson mentioned earlier that we as a school created a goal that was a little higher than the 65%. I think we were aiming around 75%, Ms. Johnson, correct me if I'm wrong. Yes, okay.
60% this year, 70%, 75% next year. We're walking it up 10% every year, just because we want them to get close to the grade level. The only other thing I would add to what AP Medley said is I think teachers being aware and understanding what the growth goal is and what the stretch goal is and how they equate to grade level equivalency also pushed their instruction and got their buy-in to move this data a lot more quickly than we've usually moved it.
Thanks for your question. Any other questions? Okay, great, thank you.
All right, guys, Ms. Carter is not here, so I'm gonna do the attendance report. Our April attendance is up to 74%, almost 75%. And from my understanding, our May data does not come in until the second week in June. So we are up from our last attendance percentage. I'm not sure the exact percentage we've increased, but I know 75% is closer to the 85 that's required. Here's our current enrollment numbers. We are still holding at 218, and you'll see the aggregation from K through 1. We have had a few mid-year transfers that will be coming next year, but they have gone to the 4th, 5th, and 6th grade, correct, Mr. Nutley? You have one 4th grade, I have a 5th and a 6th grader, that's new. Everything else is pretty consistent.
Right, I got a new kindergartner and a new 1st grader today.
Oh, well, look at that. Any questions about attendance or enrollment? Dr. Jackson, you're up.
Thank you, thank you. These are our SPED levels. We did have a couple of students that we were able to get some evaluations completed for and move some students from IP meetings that were originally in our level 2 and 1 that have moved down to our level 4. We're still at 132 is our total for our SPED students that we serve, to include our non-public students as well. Any questions? I'm sorry. Thank you, Danny. Any questions? And we do have ESY coming up for our students. It's just a continuation of our program to continue to work on their goals. So our ESY program begins June the 27th and goes through July the 21st. So it gives our SPED students an opportunity to not lose any opportunities for growth over the summer. And so our students will be with us from the end of June until mid-July.
Culture and accreditation. So we had 2 suspensions in April and 1 in May. I think that's pretty consistent with the last report. We've held pretty consistent, and these were for egregious offenses. So any questions about that? MSA report. We have been recommended for accreditation. I'm going to go to the next slide. Does anybody have any questions about that? I do believe that the vote is still in October, but historically, they always take the recommendation of the committee. So in October, it will be official, but we have been recommended for accreditation. So thank you to everybody who helped us with that. And the remaining of the end of the year date. So 8th grade has completed. Mr. Seegers mentioned at the beginning of the meeting that we have our kindergarten promotion ceremony Wednesday. We look forward to seeing you there, Mr. Seegers. The last day of school for teachers and students, the 10th of June. Summer acceleration, as Mr. Metley mentioned, will begin June 21st and run through July 22nd. ESY, as Dr. Jackson just mentioned, will start June 27th and end July 21st. Staff return this year on August 8th. Students return on August 22nd. Any questions about that? You guys are amazing tonight. And that concludes our principal's report. Any questions about anything that we covered?
I think that weather is playing into the silence. People are trying to get out and enjoy a little bit. But thank you for that, Ms. Johnson.
I appreciate them.
The next item on our agenda is a facility update, and because Mr. Daniels is not here, I'm assuming Ms. Lane is going to take care of that, or has she designated someone to do that?
I'm sorry, Mr. Seabrooks, what was the agenda item?
The facility update, the roof repair and potential preschool partnership.
Yeah, the preschool partnership unfortunately has come to a little bit of a slowdown. The executive director of ARE, who we've been working with, and we're in final stages of negotiating a contract, retired suddenly just kind of out of the blue about a week after we met with them. And so we reached back out to the organization because she did leave a contact when she let us know that she was retiring. And Ms. Posey was following up with them, but as of last week, she had not been able to confirm any next steps with that program. So we're going to continue to pursue that, but I don't have any additional updates other than we lost a little traction when their executive director suddenly retired. As for the roof, our landlord continues to just slow walk us to death with his lack of response. Our attorneys have been in touch with his attorneys and basically are making no progress. I think that it's become clear to our landlord that his attorney is in agreement with us that it would fall on him to make the repairs, which is causing kind of his radio silence. So thankfully for the good weather, but we've just been, kind of doggedly going after this for, almost the entire school year and have unfortunately made very limited progress. So we'll likely have to, kind of up our approach with our attorney. And if we had another facility that we were able to go to, these are the opportunities, right, where we could say he's being negligent as our landlord not to repair, a roof that we've collaboratively identified as requiring repair. And so we will continue to pursue that piece, but unfortunately we don't have anything measurable to update with.
Gotcha. Okay. Anything else? Any questions on that facility report by anyone? Because I do see I did jump a little bit ahead to get to that. One of the other agenda items is to talk about board membership. And I am pleased to announce that we do have at least one member who will be joining us and accepted, and Cassandra Blassingame. I'm not quite sure where she is tonight, so I'll follow up and find out where there may have been a miscommunication. But the other member, which we are going to have to vote on tonight, is Jessica Rios, who is a fellow runner. She's in my running group, and I got to talking with her, and she was very interested in becoming a board member. Presented her information to the governance committee, and the governance committee has recommended her to join the board. So at this point, I'm gonna, and she's been in teaching for over, I want to say 15 years. So I guess I'll get a motion. I can't do a motion yet because we don't have a quorum in here. So when we do get the quorum, that'll be an action item that we will need to take in addition to approving the minutes of the meeting. So that stated, we are going to go to the next agenda item, and that's going to be the marketing and branding for recruitment from Mr. Turner. Floor is yours.
Good evening, everyone. Let me share my screen. Let's get confused with these different apps. All right, so as it was mentioned before, the current census is 218. Ironically, the goal for next year is 218. We're about halfway for all of our goals for admissions this year. We currently have 33 registrations. Our goal for new students is 73, so we're about halfway there. We have a number of events coming up. In June, we have a mixer for both returning families and new families. We're going to use that as an event to get families to come to the school to register, and for new families to get a chance to see the school. But also it's an opportunity for families to network with each other, get to know each other going into the school year. And then in July, we're actually planning to have a football camp where we have an NFL player, college player, and 2 collegiate coaches that'll be hosting the camp. So that's going to be on July 9th. So we're looking forward to that. But we're looking to use these events to really have a solid June and July months. By the end of the month of June, our goal is to be at 45 registrations. I like to achieve that number because that'll set us up for a good July and really close this thing out going into August. Last year at this time, we were at 18 registrations. So all things pointing in the right direction. Again, June and July, as everybody know, going into the summer months are big months for us, and we look forward to it. Any questions?
I have a quick question, and I guess I should know this because I work at the school, but with the new entrants, do you know which grades of the new students are? Like how many are K, how many are first? Do you have that disaggregated?
Yeah, I can give you a breakdown by tomorrow morning. I don't
Okay.
have that information here.
Okay, thank you.
But we can meet with Ashley and get those numbers pretty fast.
Perfect, thank you.
It's just an export from Salesforce.
Got it. Thank you so much.
No problem.
So you mentioned football. My ears, of course, perked up. Did you mention the name of the coach or the player?
All right, so NFL player Byron Cowher for the New England Patriots, collegiate coach Mike Brown for the Cincinnati Bearcats. We got a great relationship with the Bearcats. It's a player, Arquan Bush from the Bearcats, that'll be participating as far as a host, and Vakel Hall, who is a Ball State coach who's from right there off of Benning Road. So he'll be helping us as well. So yeah, should definitely join us.
Yeah, I'll try to get down there for my short shuttle. Okay, thank you, Mr. Turner. Is there any more questions for the marketing and branding team? If not, we will go to the next meeting on our agenda, or item on our agenda, which is committee reports. I know Michael is in here. Ms. Caputo, are you gonna handle the governance committee report?
I am not prepared to. I can just share that I know as a committee that we have been attempting to get a committee meeting on the schedule, and have been circulating dates around in a circle, but not having settled on timing and not having met as a committee since we last got together as a board. I know that we did circulate some of the potential candidates for the board. And I know that we've also moved forward with a company to assist with board recruitment. I don't know if anyone else on the committee can share any more details than that, but that's kind of off the top of my head what I can share with the group.
Yeah, I think Michael had something he was going to present to us on our relationship with education board partners, and that recruitment effort. I know they've had a couple of different meetings. I attended, I think, the first one that they had, the Zoom meeting, and then I couldn't make the latter two because I had left to go out of town. But they, at one point, they were having meetings. It seemed like every other week. Education board partner and trainings on how to recruit board members. So I'm not sure if he attended any of the other meetings that we had for them. Okay, so that will bring us to, is Miss Lucene? Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, great.
Yes.
So
So I I apologize. I missed the meeting that I had with Lisa. I had an unexpected foot x-ray at the same time, so I missed my meeting with her. But I know the last time that we met, there was a request to get volunteers from board members who would be interested in being interviewed and also sharing their story and sharing things on social media. So I need to reschedule a meeting with Lisa, but also wanted to know, I guess at this point, I know people said in the meeting, the individuals who might be interested. So start compiling a list of who would be interested in being interviewed so that I can share that information. And also those who would like to share information through social media about the school. And I think maybe especially at this time when we're talking about enrollment, maybe a good time just to share things about the school and about why it's important that you're on the board and how it connects to different people in their career.
Agreed. Well, thank you for that report, Ms. Lassine. That'll bring us to the next committee. And I know Ms. Thomas is not here and she has come to the end of her term and she will not be continuing. She's had some new or changes in her work life schedule that's going to not allow her to participate on the board anymore. And so she reached out to me to let me know. I am now letting you all know. So that means we will need to figure out who's going to be our next PIAC committee chair to hopefully pick up where they left off with regard to especially the platform to facilitate communications between the school and parents and students, where I thought it was going to be something, I think she mentioned it was going to be an anonymous type platform, but it might, you have to sign up under some kind of username. So I guess that would be something that would be different or distinguishable on that. I need to get further information, but we of course have to pick up that committee again and figure out what's going on with that. That'll be a new challenge for us to have to manage and navigate. With us not having a quorum again, it looks like we're going to have yet another emergency meeting, and I get it. I mean, it's June and people are starting to, feel the weather, especially everybody's traveling now with the COVID restrictions being lifted and people being cooped up and wanting to get out. But we really need to focus on, just jumping in here for the 90 minutes to hear these reports on how we can make the school improve what we want to do with it, especially with the headquarters moving here to DC. Well, there's going to be a lot more attention and eyes on the school just from all over. So we want to make sure we get people engaged and taking care of their part to move the school forward. I don't have any other business other than to let you know that you need to be prepared for an emergency meeting. If anyone else has anything to say, now would be the time.
Mr. Seabrooks, if I might just add, I think we were going to send out a poll about re-elections for current board members who are up for re-election to see if they intend to continue on the board. If so, then we have a better sense of how many we have and how many more candidates we'll need to recruit through our partnership with Maryland Board Partners. So we'll probably be sending out a poll of some sort to collect that information virtually in advance of the emergency meeting.
Right, and I guess we need to. I did see your email, and I meant to forward it to Michael, just so that the governance committee could create that and do, or the governance committee could manage that, I should say, that process. So yeah, we'll get that handled. pronto. Other than that, this is going to be a short, very short meeting for June. Make up for it with a little bit of an emergency meeting. And then we will see you all in August for the next meeting that's on the schedule there. Everyone, please enjoy the weather. Have a good evening. I'll see you guys Wednesday for the
Thank you.
graduation.
Thank you. I'm sorry I won't be able to be there. We have our Baltimore campus is also graduating at the same time, our high school students, so we'll be in attendance at that one, but I'm sure you'll enjoy the kindergartners.
Should be fun. Yep. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Good night.
Thank you.